I can't disc jockey, but I can commentate a little bit. And we have on our hands best of 3 to commentate. Maybe I'll disc jockey a little bit while we're watching this one. Spawning in the lower right-hand corner of Babylon. He just took down Scarlet in an exciting PvZ. Looked extremely strong in that one. It is classic. But different style of player, perhaps, in the upper left. Another Zerg, but this one is going to be Onside Gaming's Solar. I do think Solar will make Classic work a bit harder, and in fact, might be favored to win this series. I think they're very close, though. This is going to be a tough one either way. Classic did make that last series look pretty easy. That looked pretty straightforward. Classic just doing classic things, having insanely good blink micro for like 10 minutes in that game too. But that was a very specific use of the map as well. Really, really nice use of that map with that base where it was. It's part of the reason I was a little surprised to see Scarlet take that very forward 4th base on Neo Humanity. It feels like if you do that as the Zerg, you want to get aggressive. Or as any race, honestly. If that's your 4th base, I feel like that's the key to I'm about to get aggressive. And Classic really just took advantage of that and ended up being the one being aggressive. Really use the map to his advantage against the heavy lane count. So I don't know if we'll be able to see exactly that kind of strategy here against Solar. Maybe if we get that map again. But again, Solar is a little bit different than Scarlet in terms of playstyle. And I think Solar against Classic might be a little bit more just okay with getting into late game quickly. We've seen Dark go for like super, super fast hives and get into late game. Classic, I think, is going to be strong at late game, but maybe not the scariest Protoss in the world. And I think Solar might feel fairly confident as the game goes longer. Solar tends not to be the most hyper-aggressive Zerg. I'm sure he can put on a good pressure build if he needs to, but generally speaking, I expect macro out of Solar, and I expect macro out of Classic, but maybe a little bit more aggressive. We're seeing some glaives here. This is kind of what I'm feeling like from Classic. Like, a little glaives build, a little blink pressure. I'm glad to see... Oh, wait, hold on. I was about to say I'm glad to see glaives. He cancels it. Why did he cancel glaives? Was that an accident? He just restarts it. Did we just witness Classic make a mistake? Did that just happen? It's possible he canceled it in order to put down those 2 gateways or to start the prism up or something. Glaives is a pretty quick upgrade. So I could see something like that. Wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world. This feels a little weird. Oh, this is kind of annoying though. Solar's gonna get in here and kill that Adept. Won't be able to get through the wall, but definitely being a little bit annoying. Where'd that Stalker go? Oh, Stalker pushing away the Overlord, but the Overlord's already scattered everything.
Our forces are under attack.
What? The Lings got in. Okay, there's an Adept here. Prism goes across the map, but it actually doesn't have anything in it. All right, Classic's gonna move out now. This feels like the Lings and the Overlord really kind of delayed Classic a little bit. I feel like Classic ended up in a bit of a weird spot, but everything's coming back together now. I think this gave Solar a little bit more time to respond, though, and prepare. And Solar's got some Roaches out, has some more Roaches and Lings coming out, and is in a pretty nice position to start this defense. So he's already going to start pushing these Adepts away, going to force them to shade forward. But in the meantime, those Adepts are going to be fighting. I think the Lings are all back. Nice pullback on the Roach here for Solar. And yeah, the immediate Ling surround as these Adepts shade in. The Adepts are going to win that fight, but that will buy some time for the Roaches to come back. Will it be enough, though, as the Adepts now shade up into the main? 3 drones have gone down. Not too bad so far for Solar. Really, the drone dead count is what's important here. Cancel on that shade. Classic doing a great job shading when is necessary. And now pressuring on multiple sides with the Adepts is really going to be annoying to handle. Solar just has more and more units coming out, but I feel like at some point you do have to start droning up off the back of this too. Oh, the Roach Warren's going to die. All right. Going to go for the recall after that. 6 Adepts get out of there. I think the Prism is still around, getting a couple of kills. But the Lings are going to largely push that away. And there's no third base for Classic, so he's getting into Disruptors off the back of this, but he knows he can't quite take that third base while he's doing that pressure, and he's going to take it now. Can Solar push across the map? I think technically he could, but it would be very dangerous, and I think the smarter choice for Solar might be to just drone up, get that lair going. He's still down a few workers, but without the third base, Classic can't mine quite as efficiently in the next couple of minutes with that worker lead. Well, Classic's gonna push across again though. He has 18 Adepts. That is a ton of Adepts, and that Roach Warren never went back down. So it's just gonna be Lings and a handful of Roaches and Queens against this. Disruptor is gonna land. Oh boy, all right, those first Novas coming out. Chipping damage off the Queens. It doesn't quite kill a Queen, but it's enough where the Adepts can then finish it off with 1 or 2 taps. The Adepts causing a lot of ruckus here. Gonna threaten the shade up into the natural, but of course they do cancel it. Drones have been pulled off, not mining at the third. Classy's getting a lot of damage done with this right now, and it seems really tough for Solar to try to defend this. So many units just spilling out and dying here. These Lings. Roaches run forward, but they're getting blasted by the Disruptors. The third base is nearly dead, and Solar is going to have to go for it, sending the drones back into mine as the Adepts shade up into the natural. Seems like that third will stay alive for now, but as a few more units warp in, will they stay alive? Will it stay alive for that much longer? These Adepts in the natural are going to shade into the main, and that is just too much. There's too much here for Classic, and he gets game number 1. Wow. Classic on an absolute tear right now. Very, very straightforward games where it feels like the Zerg is just playing standard. Just getting bopped. Absolutely bopped. Seems like the top side of the bracket is Dark versus Gumiho. So that's our other semifinals. If game 2 is as quick as game 1, we might be able to get into the final game of that series even. Because man, that was not so far. That was 3 PVZs in a row, and none of them were particularly long. Classic really making quick work of the Zergs right now. And you know what? Game 2 is on Neo Humanity. Makes me wonder if Solar was watching anybody's stream for the Classic versus Scarlet match, because if Solar just tries to go for heavy Lings, and Classic does that same kind of Blink Stalker move, this could be a tough one for the Zerg once again. We saw that work so well up against Scarlet. Let's hop in and see if this Zerg does any better in this game on this map. In the upper left-hand corner, it is Onside Gaming's Solar, who is the number 2 seed in today's bracket and actually has a KSL, 2 KSL wins under his belt, if I'm not mistaken. But right now is down 0-1 against his red Protoss opponent, Classic. who so far is looking very strong in this matchup. Gonna once again go for the hatch block. I wonder if this is all part of the strategy. Let's see if Classic goes for the same kind of build that he did against Scarlet. I do kind of love seeing those kinds of patterns of builds that work really well against one race on a certain map, but a lot of Protoss builds in particular are really specific like this, where, okay, in order for this build to work 100%, I need to make sure to get the hatch block so that they take this third, so that they're more likely to take this fourth, so that I can pressure here with Stalkers, so that I can use the slow zone to my advantage. But it really only works if they go heavy Ling. It's like super specific stuff. I kind of love Protoss meta for that. Specifically, like certain players play like that. MaxPax is a player who will come up with a build that if his first unit doesn't get the exact amount of damage he needs it to get, the build doesn't work correctly. And it's crazy because you'll see him up against somebody he's a little bit favored against in a build like that, and it'll just look absolutely unstoppable. But then the next player will maybe not take that damage, or will maybe get a little bit of damage of their own at the start, and suddenly it's off the rails. It's crazy how much just the little things can affect builds when they're so incredibly specific. But it can be super tilting when you're playing. If you're like, okay, I need to do X and Y and Z, and then you misplant your fourth pylon by half a hex, and you're like, the build is ruined. The build is over. I used to have a problem where I'd have like Adepts on hold position, and I would tell a probe to build a structure, a robo specifically, and it would get stuck on the hold position Adepts and not build the robo like every single game. And it would mess me up so much. I lost so many games because of that. Painful. It's painful stuff. Really makes you appreciate how many actions the pro players can do without making a mistake. When you play a game and like every third action is a mistake, honestly, probably every other action is like a mistake or a misstep for me, a misclick. And then you watch Classic and it's like 1 in 50. They're still there though. They still all make mistakes, which is kind of beautiful. Because if somebody played a game where they didn't make a single mistake, I'd be like, I don't know, man. StarCraft's not hard enough. They need to make this game harder. But it's beautiful. Everybody has those days. Everybody makes mistakes. We're only human, as they say. I see the Forge and the Twilight Council going down for Classic. Does make me believe this is a Blink build. Got to keep an eye on what Solar is going for. So far, it is just Lings. But we did see the Roach Warren last game, so we could see another Roach kind of play out of Solar. Oh, no Spore Call in the natural. Couple of drones going to pay the price. I guess the question here is, which fourth base does Solar go for? Does he go for the forward one? Kind of the bold base, where Classic can maybe take a little bit more advantage of it with those Stalkers? Or am I misunderstanding Classic's build here? Maybe. It doesn't matter which base is taken. Classic's just going to attack with Stalkers anyways. Adepts being annoying. Oracle's bodyguarding for the Adepts. I do kind of love how the Oracles are like, yeah, come on, Lings. Come get the surround. You can do it. Come on, you can kill these Adepts. You know that. Oh, I see Solar's camera hitting the left side. All right, so Solar going to take the safer base. There is still a good potential here for Stalkers to try to hit through this choke point, but a little bit more surround potential for Solar. Oh, speaking of surrounds, Lings dive in here on the third base, actually getting quite a few units. No shield battery to fall back to. Classic forgetting the shield battery, making the classic mistake. You gotta have a shield battery at every base. That guy doesn't put down a shield battery, he actually just puts down a cannon. I don't need a shield battery if I have a cannon. Honestly, I feel like both is the way to go, but who am I to second guess Classic here? Solar is going to go for Roaches. Roach speed is on the way. The Infestation Pit, a very fast Infestation Pit here from Solar. It could be a quick Hive, but that feels honestly very quick for a Hive. I wonder if it's Swarm Hosts as the plan. I feel like Classic's going to start putting pressure on with these Stalkers pretty soon. Swarm Hosts will not be out in time, so the Roaches are going to have to do their due diligence here. As I'm talking about Swarm Host, I think it actually is just Hive. Yeah, there's the Hive. Okay. I got kind of excited we might see some Swarm Host. I don't feel like I see them that often in this matchup anymore. But then again, when I do, they usually just die. So I like this from Classic. It's going to take down the destructible debris and block off the whole middle path here. All right, well, we're just developing into later game tech. Ooh, I'm having a little bit of lag issues. Sorry about that, guys. It's just my computer seems to be having a tough time right now for no reason. But Classic's not pushing with these Stalkers at all. He's got Charge and Storm on the way, as well as +2 attack. The Lurker Den and the Hive are both nearly done here. So I think we're just going to get into some later game tech from both of these players, which is kind of exciting. The game could slow down. It could also end in like one big engagement at pretty much any point. It's honestly one of the biggest criticisms a lot of people have with StarCraft is they're like, oh, I love how you can just spend like 15 minutes building up a fully maxed tier 3 army and then the game just ends in one fight. It can be a bit of a problem sometimes. I don't think we're going to see that, though. I feel like we're not going to see either player like super hard engaged. We're going to start to see counterattacks and run-bys and just trying to keep the macro going, take good trades so the Vipers come out. And I imagine disruptors, but I'm talking about disruptors. We're actually going to see the Fleet Beacon and bonus Stargates coming up here. Solar got the scout on a second Stargate if he clicked on that. But that is kind of important to know, because Solar can slow down this game pretty significantly with the Lurkers, but once the carriers start coming out, Tempests start coming out, Solar's going to need to get into Corruptors. He really, really needs to. Hydras and Queens can really only help you for so long. There's like one period of time when the carrier count is low enough where you can deal with it with a ground army, but after that, you just kind of fully need Corruptors. Oh, a nice Storm on top of the Lurkers here. Storm doesn't do a ton of damage relative to a Lurker's health, excuse me. But softens them all up a bit, allows those Stalkers to take one out. Classic just playing defensively, taking this 5th base. Seeing Solar has taken the forward 5th base and is starting to bust down the rocks on both sides here, trying to open this map up a little bit, get that creep spread pushing forward. These bases are super, super close together. I'm zoomed out right now, but this is just like one zoomed out screen apart. And with those rocks down, it feels very close. Classic trying to keep the choke points here. Nice Stasis Trap catches a lot of those Lings. But the Lurker is going to keep on pressing forward with their 10 range. It's going to be Tempest coming out first before any carriers make it out. Those Tempests can really start pushing back on the Lurkers quite quickly. And yeah, there they go. Can also work on the Overseers, which are a hugely important thing here. Losing those Overseers can be very painful. Oh, this is nice from Solar, though. Going to go for a little bit of a run by, but no, decides to pull back, sees all the cannons, sees that there's no base over here. I don't know if he's recognized the base on the left side yet. Doesn't look like it. There's not a lot of defenses here. I feel like Classic needs to get some more static D up there. Right now, he's focused on putting some pressure on with his Prism, a few Zealots, pulling the army back, and is taking advantage of the lack of anti-air here. But at the same time, it looks like Classic didn't realize that there were lurkers burrowed there, so the ground army ends up taking a bunch of damage and has to try to blink backwards. I think that Stalker accidentally blinked into in between the debris. There's like just a little bit of space here for a few units. Nice tag on the lurkers there. Going to start to push them back. There are those corruptors coming out. We see a few of them out on the field. Oh, but a few nice storms to cover the retreat. The Tempest might start to go down a little bit, but these storms are doing huge damage to the rest of the army. Corruptors trying to jump on top of these Tempests. The Super Shield Battery will save them. A few Tempests went down there, and a few Corruptors. We have a battle report, so we're going to see Classic had a little bit of a better trade there. Oh my god. My keyboard keeps double pressing B and it won't let me close it. Oh, Solar's not done though. He wants to jump on this again. There's not a lot of ground units left. The Stalker's clogging up the top side. The Lurker's doing a ton of splash damage. I feel like the Tempest might win this fight, but the Corruptors are going to come out quicker than the Tempests, generally speaking. Corruptor count is still at 14 because more have just been made non-stop. Meanwhile, only 6 Tempests and a lot of them very, very low. Super Shield Battery is still not available, and these Shield Batteries are out of juice. Lings fighting against the Zealots while the Lurkers just mince the Zealots to pieces. The Corruptors winning the fight against the Tempest, and it feels like Solar is just going to have too much here as he's starting to take down the 4th base and really push Classic back. Classic losing some more Stalkers, warping in Stalkers into their death. Oh, bad warp in there. He's going to try to go for a counterattack, but this is part of the problem with not having that splash damage. The storms were decent, but I feel like you really need disruptors in this situation as Classic. Going for the Blink Stalkers into the Tempests, I don't hate Storm, and I think it's crucial to deal with the Corruptors, but the Disruptors are crucial to deal with the Lurkers. And I feel like that's something that's missing from Classic's army. It's trying to pick off some of these Lurkers as they come in and burrow, but the Lings getting on top of them, making it so difficult. These are Adrenal Lings as well, just mincing up the Stalkers. And then every time the Zealots get warped in, they just die to the Lurkers. Solar's going to move in with his massive army of Lurkers here. The Corruptors keeping the skies clear. All these production facilities, those 3 Stargates, completely useless right now. Super Shield Battery going to get killed by the Corruptors using their Corruption spell. I don't remember what that's called. That has a name. But the name right now is going to be GG. And that's going to be Solar taking game number 2 as Classic makes a final stand, but it is, in fact, the final one of that game. Solar ties up the series 1-1. We have a match on our hands. And casters love nothing as much as they love a match on their hands. In fact, hold on. We have, wait, crappy matches. We have a match on our hands. Haha. Just hit myself in the head with that. All right, now I have a hot match in my hand, and I don't want to throw it in the trash. I'm just gonna put it like right here. And we're gonna get into game 3. I'm glad you were all with me for that use of props. We all know that using props is what makes you a good caster. It's what makes you a good streamer in general. Without props, what are we? Just 1-0 that match. True? All right. Let's hop in to game 3 of this best of 3. Final match. Final game of the match, rather. Spawning in the lower left-hand corner, Ancient Cistern, we have Onside Gaming's Solar. And his opponent in the upper right-hand corner, currently teamless. Been teamless for kind of a while. I wonder if he's kind of digging it. You know, who needs a team? Certainly not Classic. Some players might need a team, but not Classic. Not the number 11 ranked player on a league in the world. He's been pretty high up for a while, too, and still no team. It's very sad. Need more team action in StarCraft. Yeah, Classic is rank 11 on a league right now. And I think that's, like, pretty accurate. I mean, Solar's rank 10, and they are 1-1 at the moment, so I feel like this all tracks. Caustic Spray. Thank you, 47S. I knew it had a name, but yeah, we just call it, like, either peeing or vomiting on buildings. Whichever you prefer. It's a little of both, you know? I don't know if there's a difference for Corruptors. They may only have, like, one orifice. They got to do everything out of it. And yeah, Arconic, I'm going to have to second Johnny VCX here. Also, just definitely don't have the, like, $400 it would cost to buy a Switch and buy the new Zelda game. As much as I loved Breath of the Wild, and as much as I would absolutely love to play Tears of the Kingdom right now, I'm actually so upset that I can't play it. I don't have the $400 to spend on that right now. Feels bad. I don't know. Maybe one day I'll splurge on the Switch, but I feel like it's probably not going to happen. My plans for the coming few months are to get back into streaming and casting StarCraft more. I have been casting more in the last few months than I did in the year before that. But I want to start getting into streaming it more, covering more events and things like that. And that usually comes with making less money. So, yeah, it might be a while before I can get a Switch. Maybe my birthday, you know? We'll talk about it. We'll do a stream donation goal to get a Switch. And then I'll play in like 6 months Tears of the Kingdom on stream. There we go. That's our plan. I don't actually have any stream goals right now. I really appreciate any support from you guys. But right now, I'm not counting on stream to pay any of my bills. Again, in the coming months, I'm going to start to, you know, depend on stream a little more. But not until I start actually streaming more and more consistently would I expect anybody to actively want to support this channel. Those of you who still do after all this time, I assume something's wrong with you, but I guess that was evident by the fact that you subbed here in the first place. So, but I love you guys. And then, of course, once Stormgate comes out, I'm going to go pretty hard. My plan is to go pretty hard once Stormgate comes out. I'm very excited for it. And if we're getting some good support, we're doing pretty well before that happens, before we start being able to, like, stream that, put tournaments on and stuff. If the stream seems to be doing well, I'll push real hard to, like, hopefully be able to do full-time content. That's a tough thing. I live in a pretty expensive place, but that possibility is there. Anyways, I should talk about this game a little bit. So we have some Adepts pressuring. Now, it feels like from Solar's side of things, it's a little hard to tell exactly what this is. This looks very similar to last game. A couple of Oracles, a few Adepts pressuring. This is not a Blink follow-up. This is not a macro follow-up. I mean, it is. There's a third base. But it is Glaives. So this is going to be some big Adept pressure coming out of Classic. It's going to hit a lot quicker than any of the Blink Stalker kind of things would usually do. But Solar seems to be ready for it. He's got roaches on the way. Seems to have a good grasp of what's coming his way. Doesn't guarantee a defense, but certainly going to make it quite a bit easier on Solar. That's a lot of Adepts, though, man. 14 Adepts out, and only 5 roaches so far, but as I say that, 7 more on the way. The Lings are coming out now as well. The Lings are crucial for this because they can chase the Shades and hold the Shades down while the roaches try to catch up to the Adepts. And that's what we're going to see here. The roaches chasing down these Adepts while the Lings are ready for the Shade to finish up. And they are going to get the immediate surround on the Adepts. A bunch of roaches here as well. And a lot of these Adepts going to die before this attack even really gets going. And this is a stark contrast to what we saw in the game between Classic and Scarlet, where these Adepts just kind of dumpstered Scarlet's economy. But in this game, we do have a few drones going down here. Some nice target fire, but 6 drones for all of those Adepts. Yeah, it's going to be a much better trade for Solar, and not losing drones there is crucial. Now, the big thing is, Classic has a third base with this, and is already at 64 workers. Blink and +1 are on the way, but Solar knows exactly what's up. Solar knows this was a big macro play, and is just sending the units across the map, including the Queens, who are coming. They're going to hit this little creep highway here, provided by this Overlord. There are Ravagers out. There's no Blink. There's no +1. There's no... Okay, there is 1 shield battery at this base. The Oracle's helping out quite a bit here. Oh, that's so many Ravagers, though. And how do you dodge the Ravager Biles with the non-Blink Stalkers? How do you even get away from the Lings? Shield battery goes down immediately. A new one comes up, but just in time to also die. Pylon gets taken out on the right. Super shield battery is up, but I feel like Solar's just going to target that down with the next set of Biles. There it goes. And this third base is now dead. And actually, I think Classic's just dead. The follow-up here for Classic was macro, and the follow-up for Solar was build more units. And that was the correct choice. Solar takes the 2-1 victory off of holding those Adepts and just pushing back. GG.